Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to another episode of Player Pass, a video series where I take a look at brand new gacha games so you don't have to. Today, we're taking a look at Daiblos Core. This is a brand new turn-based, mission-oriented gacha game that just released in Taiwan. You do not need a Chinese phone number to play this. You can download the game and play it from wherever you are in the world. Now, if this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the little bell notification, that way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post daily. Do not miss out, as this is a gacha game that has released exclusively within China right now. The game itself is in Chinese, not translated in any capacity, although you will see that for whatever reason, the Chinese characters, the text, also has English underneath it, so it makes navigating the game a little bit easier. The story is in Chinese, the skill descriptions are in Chinese. So if you can get around not really understanding what's going on, not really understanding what your abilities do or what anything really does, then I urge you to go ahead and try the game out. This is pretty much like your run-of-the-mill average gacha game. There is the home screen. From the home screen, you have access to the mission screen. The main story consists right now of 3 different parts: Part 0, Part 1, Part 2. I have pushed through almost all of Part 1 thus far. You can see all the different missions that I've done. I haven't max starred all of them because, once again, I did run into the issue of not really understanding what my characters do. So it made it a little bit difficult to fix up types and I guess focus on strengths and weaknesses of different characters that I'm sure if you have the ability to translate, or if you play an actual localized version of the game, you wouldn't run into. I did. The game consists primarily of entering various different missions. I guess a very close similarity would be something like Artery Gear Fusion, Counter Side, maybe a Clipx more recently. You then choose your party. It consists of up to 5 different waifus. All the characters are female. There are no husbandos whatsoever. You can have a 6th character that comes as an assist. You then deploy your characters and then they engage. Since the game is turn-based, you can choose to either allow the game to autoplay for you, or you can select your abilities yourself. Like all games that have autoplay, it will be ideal to control the game and your characters manually, to play it manually, because if you don't, you're gonna run into issues where the characters, the AI is a little bit special, and I think you can overcome many of the obstacles that you encounter by just controlling them yourself. Now, the characters do have 3 different abilities each, which you see on the bottom right of the screen. They have various different uses. This character in specific has only single target abilities. You select the red ability to target enemies. You select the yellow ability to target allies. The special effects in this game are phenomenal. They are crazy. I feel like, I mean, you can see they are very good for the kind of game this is, because the combat is semi-chibi, not entirely chibi. But I feel like for the style of graphics that it utilizes, everything looks really smooth. It looks very crisp. It looks very fluid. Everything moves fast. I haven't encountered a single issue with it thus far. All the characters look unique. All the characters feel unique. All the characters have their own uses, their own affinities, their own abilities. None of them feel like carbon copies of one another. The game, or the battles, consist of 2 different phases. Or 2 different waves, rather. You eliminate the first wave, which is typically just a handful of monsters. The second wave has additional monsters with kind of like a boss. Like in this instance, you have this chick with a giant hammer. I guess that kind of functions like a mini boss. And that's pretty much the combat. There are a lot of different team compositions you could come up with. Unfortunately, once again, I don't have the ability. Well, I could translate it with my phone, but that takes a lot of time. I didn't really want to invest that much time into doing so. Outside of the main story, you can farm the daily exploration for various different materials. we have skill upgrades, we have money, we have XP, various other items. Once again, you can see the English name to the side of the Chinese name, resource acquisition, chip embedding, update actions. Before we go any further, let me take a moment here to thank my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members. Will allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are phenomenal, and I can't thank you all enough for the support. Now let's keep talking. Over here we have competitions. This functions essentially like PvP. I'm gonna go ahead here and challenge this guy. It's pretty straightforward. You can unfortunately not manually do this. PvP, like in a lot of gacha games actually, is completely auto, which means you deploy your units, they deploy their units, and you just beat each other up. And whoever has the stronger team overall typically tends to win. And in this instance, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume either this guy is really weak or it's a bot. Typically in gacha games you have bots early on in the ladder, but even if it is a bot, like, I mean, we can't prove it, so we can just go out on a limb here and assume that I'm just vastly superior to a lot of my competition, and that I am just a significantly better player overall. This character, though, just does not want to die. Holy crap, okay. And there we go, victory, easy. It's that simple. There's activity exploration up here. Unfortunately, I have not unlocked this yet. I think I cleared like a lot of like chapter 1, part 1, but unfortunately I did hit a wall where I couldn't progress beyond. But I mean, I would love to see what that is. Characters are crazy looking. You can level them like normal. I think, yeah, I currently have most of my characters at level 30. They are limited to level 40 before I limit break and ascend them. You can increase or upgrade the strength of your abilities. There are a plethora of different ways that you can go about customizing your characters with what is essentially a type of gear. You can level them up with materials and skill increase items. There is an affinity system, but the affinity with your characters kind of passively upgrades without any involvement from you whatsoever, just by using them. The game is very free-to-play friendly. I've gotten 4 6-star characters, I think 8 5-star characters, or more than that actually, maybe 10 or 12 5-star characters. The characters themselves look absolutely phenomenal. I think I already noted that, but they have their normal animations, they have live 2D animations, which just look absolutely freaking crazy. And the games are also, I want to show you some of the more lewd stuff, because it does get it does get a little bit suggestive. This is by far one of the more cultured gacha games out there. Like, I think this would even give Brown Dust 2, this would potentially give Apocalypse or Nikke or even Snowbreak a run for its money. The amount of movement in so many of your characters' bodies is insane. Especially when you look at characters like this, or where's another one? Like this. So it gets kind of wild. There are a ton of skins, and they're all very, very nice to look at. I would definitely spend money on these if I had the money to. Unfortunately, I'm not going to spend money in a Chinese game, because the last time I did with Tower of Fantasy, they locked my bank account and told me never do that again. Towards the left of the screen, you'll see that there's actually a feature called Wiener Measure. This is specifically for after you obtain enough characters and after you spend enough time looking at your characters respectfully, of course. You click that feature, you measure the wiener. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is essentially where you just go to it's like achievements, missions. You just go here and then you redeem whatever achievements you unlocked. There is an archive feature here which lets you take a look at all of the characters in quite explicit detail. Some of them warrant a little bit of additional viewing. There are live illustrations that look absolutely crazy. Once again, I would strongly urge you to take the time to look at all of these in your own spare time. Don't do this when other people are around. You can rewatch all of the events that you see. You can rewatch all of the story that you experience, which is fantastic. There is a base I mean, what would a gacha game be without a functional base system, right? Where you have to micromanage a bunch of different features that give various types of different resources. I think the most fun one, of course, and this is the case with all gacha games, is the dormitory, where you can adjust this to your liking, place down whichever character or characters up to 5 that you want. You'll be spending a lot of time here, like you always do. The gacha, once again, is fairly easy, I think, on your wallet. I got so many characters. You get given a free 6-star selector. You get given 30 attempted 10 pulls, and after all 30, or even before all 30 really, you decide which set of 10 characters you want, and you're given them all for free. There was one out of all of the pulls that I did that I actually attained 2 5 or 2 6-star characters, so I just chose that one by default. I got very lucky, which was rare for me, but very free-to-play friendly from what I've seen thus far, and you earn a ton of currency and a ton of free pulls just by playing the game. There are a few other game modes, there are a few other things that are locked, but that is essentially Daiblos core. Combat is turn-based. The game itself looks very good, I think, for the kind of game it is, utilizing a hybrid chibi graphical style. The characters look good, the animations look good, everything feels smooth, everything feels fluid, the live 2D animations are great, the game is free to play friendly, the game isn't too difficult. There are walls, certain walls that you hit that might require playing over a period of days rather than just kind of finishing it all in one day or finishing it all at once. I feel like there's plenty to do. There is a lot of story. Unfortunately, once again, since I couldn't translate and understand all of it, I chose to skip the story. There are tons of cutscenes. The game really does have quite a bit to offer. I didn't expect the game to be as fleshed out as it ultimately is, nor did I expect there to be as much to do in the game as I could do. Ultimately, I think this is a very fun game. I think that it has a lot of potential. If the game releases globally, I do think that it will do pretty well. I think it'll probably hit the same numbers, maybe the same player base that Snowbreak, that Counterside, that Artery Gear, that a Clipx all hit. So maybe not the overwhelming success that something like a Hoyo game hit, or Nikkei, Blue Archive, Arknights, anything like that. But I do think it has genuine potential to be a fun game with probably a decent story, with lots of stuff to do, that's relatively free to play friendly, that probably won't get censored because this is released in Taiwan rather than mainland China, where they don't have as much of an issue with censorship, which is fantastic. And I will play this. I will definitely play this if a global version is announced and is released. If you want to play this, then I urge you to, if you're interested in it, because it is ultimately a fun game, then I urge you to go ahead and click the link in the description that will lead you to our Discord, where I have the link to download the game posted. Otherwise, hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are going to be on screen in just a moment and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.